Does anybody have a joke out there? Nobody.
My mind goes blank.
Okay, I was at a meeting this morning of Pasadena environmental advocates. I heard a couple of this guy from the Audubon Society told a bunch of bird jokes. So here's the first one. Why do birds stand on one leg? Nobody knows?
Why?
Because if they raise the other leg, then they fall down.
That'll do it.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Why do birds lay eggs? Nobody knows. Because if they had them when they were standing, all the eggs would break. Pretty bad, huh?
That's bad. Okay, I work with a bunch of kids. I've got a joke.
Okay, here, let's hear it.
Why didn't the skeleton cross the road?
Why?
He had no guts.
Ha.
Funny. Okay, let's go ahead and start. I think we're still going to get some more people here, but let's go ahead and start anyway. So thanks very much, everybody, for showing up today. This is our first monthly town hall meeting. And so we're, as usual, any of you who have done first meetings, it's always fun with technical difficulties and stuff like that. So I'm going to invite you during the course of the meeting at least once and maybe more times to help us produce these meetings monthly. I think before COVID, Amir, who's on the left-hand side of your screen there, or at least on my screen, helped us to run a meetup called Coffee and Climate Crisis. And just as we were building momentum, COVID hit, and then everything came to a screeching halt. So this is our attempt to resurrect that meetup, and we've just given it a different name here. But Amir is partnering with us to produce this event, as well as Stephanie Yamashiro, who unfortunately won't be able to be on the call today, and then Christian Montoya, who's on the screen with us. And Katrina G is helping us out today too. So there's our small team. We'd like to double the size of that team because starting next month, we're going to make these live events and probably stream them as well. So we'll be looking for environmental resources that we can turn people onto around the community so they can become familiar with that. And we'll be looking to meet at those facilities. So if you're in the mood and you feel like having parties and coordinating events like this, then we'd love to have you join our team. And I would encourage you to put that in the chat. And I think Katrina will be looking at the chat afterwards and recording everybody's messages to us so that we can get back with you and make that kind of stuff happen. So during the course, I'll put up a PowerPoint in a minute, but I really want to just relate my story about how I quit my job about 4 years ago when I read a book called Thank You for Being Late. And it talked about how humanity is at a turning point and how we human beings have set the course of the earth on the path to ecological disaster. And it didn't sit well with me. I thought, there's something I can do to help prevent that if that's possible. And I quit my job. And I didn't have a background in science or the environment. And I just thought that, I can't sit here and watch the earth burn up. I need to do something and figure out what it was that I could bring to the table. And it turns out that what we need to do is to form and more mobilize a global uprising. We need people like you and me to start living more sustainably. We need businesses to adopt sustainable practices. We need governments to adopt sustainable policies. And we need all of us to work together, the business sector, the nonprofit sector, individuals, charitable organizations, everybody. And we need to do that on a global scale. So luckily in my background, it almost feels to me like I've been preparing for this my whole life. My background is in mobilizing people and volunteers and managing large-scale collaboration. So that's what I'm bringing to the table here locally. And then we want to have Community 2.0 chapters around the world and link with other organizations that do similar work too. So we've got some big plans in the future. And if you'd like to come along and help do that, then I certainly would appreciate that. So I'm inviting everybody here to step up and help save the planet. And I think because you're here today that we're pretty sure that you are environmentally minded. And I know that a lot of folks at this time are also looking to step up and find passion in their work and find more fulfilling lives. And I think that that's something that we can offer you here too through the environmental sector, but also through my organization. As you know, I'm an executive coach as well. And my favorite thing is helping people to find the next chapter of their life in cooperation. So that would be what they're talented in and what they're interested in, and then align those with the needs of humanity and the environment. And so in exchange for your willingness to help our effort, I'd love to be able to help coach you through that process. So if you're into that stuff and you can use a little bit of guidance, raise your hand, everybody. Yes, I want to do that, Greg. Okay, good. So talk to me and I will be glad to help you through that process. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing up here. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we decided on the name here to be the Eco-Friendly Town Hall Meeting, and our little tagline here is something we came up with that was kind of cool. So come be a net zero hero. Does anybody want to offer a brief explanation of what net zero means?
I would if no one else is already there.
Go
So
for it.
basically with net zero, for example, so it's like, say you're a factory spewing a lot of carbon emissions into the atmosphere. Let's say 1 ton per week or something, make it nice and even. So if you emit 1 ton per week, but you also have say like you also have a stake in, say, a privately managed forest or something that sequesters 1 ton of carbon per week, then you would emit 1 ton of carbon, but also take 1 ton of carbon out of the atmosphere per week. Therefore, the net emissions would be 0.
Well, that's a great explanation. Thanks for doing that. And so more on a personal level, if I'm driving an electric car, but I'm buying electricity from Pasadena Water and Power that still buys about 40% of their electricity from coal and from gas, fossil fuel suppliers, then when I think that I'm net zero driving an electric car, actually I'm not, because the electricity that powers my car is still coming from fossil fuels. Although, as Sophia mentioned, I can offset that then by composting in my home or installing solar panels in my home, or in other ways removing a carbon from the atmosphere, so that the amount that I put into the air, the amount that I retract from the air, is net zero. Does that make sense? Yep. And so our scientist on staff today is Andrew Ellis. Andrew, did we cover that effectively, or did we mess everything up?
You got a lot of it right. There's different types of emissions. You have your emissions that are directly attributable to your business, but you also have scope 3 emissions, which are downstream and upstream. So your suppliers' carbon emissions need to be calculated into that net zero calculation, as well as your customers. So there's different components of the carbon emissions net zero game, but essentially you guys have it right.
All right, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, thanks for clearing that up for us. So hopefully we'll provide a path, if you guys stay involved with this and get more involved, to help you look at your home, look at your work life, so that we can be carbon neutral, all of us. Instead of just encouraging people to get active, we want to actually help them and show them what they can do to be carbon neutral. So the reason that we're here today is because we need a global uprising. I've already mentioned that. And this is just a very cool saying from Danny Chivers, who wrote a book called The No Nonsense Guide to Climate Change. And this is just what keeps me going when I think about, oh my gosh, there's so much to do here. I'll read it for you and you can read along. It says, "This is going to be the most amazing, inspiring, and unifying social movement that the world has ever seen." I mean, I stop to think about this sometime. We need a global movement. We need countries who might be adversaries to be working with each other. We need, I would say, at least a tipping point of 15% of the people on the earth to adopt sustainable lifestyles. That's over 1 billion people. Technology has to evolve and then be applied to environmental and municipal challenges. And oh my gosh, how in the heck are we going to do that? And then I read this this saying again. And I think, wow, what if we can pull this off? I've been involved in some very large scale collaborations in the past, and it's an amazing feeling when, 4,000 volunteers come together with 80 different groups and 20 participating agencies, and we accomplish something amazing in a day. And I just think about that on a global scale, and I'm getting goosebumps right now. I hope you don't think I'm too sappy here, but I kind of get choked up sometimes when I think about serving humanity. And I really think I found my calling for life about 20 years ago when I was part of a group in Pasadena called the Junior Chamber of Commerce. And they were all about teaching volunteer service through project management. And I've run some big projects in town. And I knew nothing about volunteering before that. But when I got engaged in that stuff, I just said, wow, this is where I need to be. I was in for-profit sales before that. And I did about 23 informational interviews with nonprofit leaders and told them what I wanted to do. And by then I had defined that to starting Leadership Pasadena. And each one of those people told me I couldn't do it, right? I didn't have the education or the experience or the know-how. It was pretty depressing, but I said, okay, watch me do this. And the willpower that I was able to summon and the expertise that I was able to garner and learn resulted in an organization that now is 23 years old and has graduated over 300 people into the community. And so when I quit my job to start Community 2.0, I felt like, I've done this before and I can do this again. And I have no idea how to save the planet, but I think I can figure it out. And I think I can bring people to the table who have the expertise, like Andrew Ellis and all these other folks here. Cheryl Orange is on today, Sharon Sand, from all these different nonprofits, and Salvatrice from PCC, and on and on. My job, I think, is to bring people together and help us work more effectively together to convene and produce this amazing event. And so I'm losing my track here, but this is the kind of stuff that lights me up, and I hope I can help you walk down that path too. So all that said, I'm going to be talking most of the time today, but I really would like to make this an interactive discussion.
Greg, before we move forward, what you were explaining reminded me of one of the conversations that we had a few days ago. To address the biggest challenge that the human being has ever faced, we need everybody to become an environmentalist. Everybody needs to look at it, things from saving the planet, net zeros, thinking about the water, energy, the waste that they are leaving behind. So that's where it makes the movement, the uprising, to be stronger.
Yeah, right. And I teach people. I used to teach a work-life balance, but now I teach work-life alignment, which is I help identify your talents and your passions so that you can lead a happy and fulfilling life. And then where those talents intersect the needs of humanity, that's where your pot of gold is. You'll find happiness and fulfillment. And if you're feeling a need in humanity, that means you're selling a service and somebody's buying it and you're making a lot of cash too. Nothing wrong with that, right? So absolutely. And I would love to help you. Thanks for mentioning that, Amir. I'd love to help everybody find their passion here and save the planet as well and make a boatload of money. So let's do that. Okay. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to have these monthly meetups. I think they're going to be about an hour long, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. We're still, adjusting the format, and with your help, it'll make it very cool for you guys and deliver what you want. So mark your calendars, first Wednesday of the month, 5:30. At the same channel that you're looking at right now. So who can you hope to meet here? Well, cool kids like me and Andrew and Amir, eco activists like Cheryl and Sophia and Salvatrice, entrepreneurs and people who teach entrepreneurs like me and Amir. Amir is also a professor at a college up north in Sacramento, I think. Cheryl Orange is an entrepreneur. So we have a lot of folks here who are also entrepreneurs. In the past, it used to be nonprofit organizations that were kind of doing the good work that needed to be done in communities. That can't be the case any longer. We need the business sector, both entrepreneurs and established businesses, to contribute to saving the planet. So this organization is for a cross sector of everybody in the community. Like when I started Leadership Pasadena, I came into town, I think it was around 1990 or so, 1993, something like that. And it was like the Rotary Club would meet over there, and the business guys would meet at the Chamber of Commerce, and the nonprofit leaders were at the executive roundtable. And there was no organization where everybody could come together and say, hey, we have more in common than we have differences. And the real power is for us to come together as leaders, and not just the old guard, but what about the women leaders? And what about the LGBTQ leaders? And what about the Black leaders and Latinos and Armenians and disabled and everybody? And so that's what Leadership Pasadena was about. And I really hope to make Community 2.0 that organization where people come together and businesses and nonprofits and individuals, and we need to work together, and we need to model that way here. And that's what we're going to do. So what are we going to do? We're going to find fun, exciting ways for people to make a difference. I think we're not going to mobilize anybody by trying to scare them, although we're not going to shy away from the truth either, right? We are in a dire situation here, and people need to take action, and we need to take urgent action. And that needs to be done together. There's where the real power is. I just want to make note that we have people represented here from business, from science, from the film industry, both as writer and filmmaker, people who represent workforce development, the circular economy, regenerative agriculture, providing professional help for nonprofits, and on and on. And I just want to say that this is a perfect cross-sector of the people that we're trying to involve here. As I mentioned, and I'm going to mention it over and over again, we need a large-scale collaborative effort that crosses multiple sectors in the community if we are going to have a chance to defeat the climate emergency. And I think that we are. I think that there is hope, because when we choose to, we can realize that we are the people that created the problems that have the state of the earth in the state that it's in, and that when we choose to, we can transform the health of the planet. We're just going to show you this brief clip that is really just a trailer for this movie that I hope you guys will watch.
2020. March 2020. A deadly virus sweeps around the world. Overnight, our lives are put on pause.
Today, the WHO declared a pandemic,
issuing a stay home, stay safe order,
directing all of our residents to quite simply stay at home.
But as we stop, remarkable things start to change in the natural world.
With the clear skies, for the first time in a lifetime, we can see the Himalayas.
With beaches closed to humans, these animals were nesting at a more successful rate than we've ever seen.
One vocalizing and then the other. I've never heard that before.
From the start of lockdown, across 5 continents, we have recorded a global experiment of epic proportions that has shown us, if we choose, we can transform the health of the planet. For all.
Has anybody seen the movie The Year Earth Changed besides me?
No, but I'd like to comment on that because that was so thrilling. And I noticed that during the pandemic, that the animals started to expand as we contracted. And it was so amazing. And now there's a movie about it. I am so excited to be here. I really am.
Is that Rita talking, or Sophia?
Rita.
Yeah. It's anybody else want to comment?
I saw the movie. This is Anna. I thought it was really interesting to see a lot of how the things we had thought were natural, such as like hunting patterns for some animals, like they only came out at a certain time, changed when we were all gone, and how much a lot of it is affected by our presence. Very interesting.
Jolene, you have your hand raised up.
Sorry. Sorry. I just had to navigate. Yes, I've seen the movie too, and was just really kind of in awe. I highly recommend that everyone see it.
Yeah. Any other comments? No, yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, wow. I'm since I've been in this industry about 4 years now. I mean, often I get depressed about, oh my gosh, how are we going to change things? And that movie just blew me away. And David Attenborough, you might know the narrator, has been an environmentalist probably for 50 years. I would encourage you to watch all his movies. There's movies when he was young, maybe in his 30s, when he was in Africa and gorillas were crawling all over him. And I mean, this guy's the real deal. I think he made this movie to show us that we can still save the planet, regardless of how bad things are now. And he gives me hope. And the pandemic certainly showed us that we can change dramatically, and we can change in a heartbeat. And I just think, wow, and how cool is this message that the natural world reverted to be more of its natural self when the pandemic hit and we cut the economy back. But the challenge now, obviously, is to help it revert to its natural self without cutting back on the economy, or let me rephrase that, to find different ways to power the economy. But I think that there's definitely hope. I hope you watch that movie and then maybe let us know what you thought about that. So anyway, so here we are, this community uprising. We heard before that Danny Chivers wrote in his book called The No Nonsense Guide to Climate Change, this is the most important social uprising ever. And he makes the point there, if you have too much going on to do this full time, I mean, who has the time to do an environmentalist full time? There's so many things that you can do. And specifically, we want to talk about things that we can do here to live more sustainably. I'd like you to just take a minute and maybe make a couple of notes and post some things in chat and just contribute vocally as well. I know that I changed my life when I got into this business. And then when COVID hit, I gave up my car, for example, and started using, instead of throwing away tissues when I blow my nose, we also use handkerchiefs. In the old days, I used them twice. Now I use my floss multiple times. I mean, I'm going crazy thinking of ways how I can reuse things instead of just having this consumerism and throwaway mindset. And I was wondering if you guys can share with us some of the things that you've done to start live more sustainably now that you're more aware of the environment. Anybody want to share something?
Jolene has her hand up. Hi, Jolene, do you have a question?
Sorry, I don't know how to take that down.
They just press the button again. There's like a lower
Okay.
hand.
All right. No, I'm on my phone, so it's a little tricky. I'll try it.
Oh, okay. It's all good.
So I know me personally, obviously the whole entire store concept is about reusing things. So I am so focused on reusing things. And as you and I discussed yesterday, like I'm focused down to the fact that the lives of the haulers, like, knowing that they're not recycling things that, we now know that they're not recycling 95% of plastic and never have. Now I know that they're not recycling paper unless you put your paper in a bag. So it has to be like a plastic bag of shredded paper might get taken off the line and sent to the paper recycler. For me, I'm always thinking about how can I reuse this waste stream or get this waste stream so it can be reused. And then also certainly with water, I'm very concerned with water. So now all of our buckets, if people want to take our 5-gallon buckets home to use in their shower to capture extra water while it's heating up to water their plants, that's another, I offer those buckets for anybody to take. So that's one thing I'm doing.
Good deal. Thanks for doing that, Cheryl. And Cheryl brings up a good point. I think Cheryl was involved with us and with Sharon Sand with Altadena Heritage a few years back when we showed a movie called, what was the name of that movie, Cheryl? The one, the PBS special.
I'd have to look. I don't remember.
About plastics, do you remember? It was
yeah, it was
called Life in Plastics. So there's a PBS special called Life in Plastics, and what Cheryl alluded to was that corporate America, and I don't want to vilify everybody, but they know who they are: the oil industry, the plastics industry, the cigarette industry, they have been lying to us about their products and how harmful they are to us, to people, and to the environment for decades. And if you watch that PBS special called Life in Plastics, you'll learn more about that. But Cheryl and I were talking, I think yesterday or today, about the need to wake people up and to make the way corporate America and our politicians operate, and to make that much more transparent. And clearly they're not going to do it on their own. We need to force that issue. So if you're motivated by that, as I am and as Cheryl is, please join us, and let's do what we can to make the truth known about our environment and who's polluting it. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox here. Anybody else want to talk about how they've been living more sustainably lately?
Yeah, I could. I think I was taking canvas bags to the grocery store long before it was on anybody's mind. I was like the weirdo in the grocery store with my canvas bags. And I work from home and have for many years. And I also have another job, and I wanted it to be within walking or bicycling distance of my house. So it is. I rode my bike today. I do drive, but it's a couple of miles. I don't like driving, but it's wickedly hot out here. So I'm trying that. I do use my dishwater to water my plants. We don't use the AC or the heater. We try to, maintain an internal environment that we don't have to turn on anything like that. So a lot of things here and there, a little bit here and there.
Good for you. And one of the resources on our website is a list from the Union of Concerned Scientists. I think it's 20 or 30 steps you can take to become carbon neutral. Some of them are very easy. And some of them are more challenging, but I think pretty soon we're going to have some of our volunteers guiding people and walking hand in hand, and perhaps we'll start to create some buddy pairs for people who are interested in becoming carbon neutral. So thanks for that. Anybody else want to talk about what they're doing to live more sustainably? Nope. Okay, let's move on then. So the bottom line here is that we all need to become environmentalists. It's not going to, clearly it's not on us now to expect the corporate sector to turn around on their own. They're not going to do that. We have to vote with our dollars and make our opinions known to politicians as well. One of the things that we're going to start doing at these meetings and the other meetings I'll talk about in a minute is to collect signatures from voters. And then use those signature lists when we meet with politicians and say, hey, look, we have, 2 or 3 or 5 or 10,000 voters here. We really need you to vote green. And my personal opinion is that we need to start to use a nonviolent protest and hold these politicians accountable to do what we know that they need to do, which is to push the agenda for green initiatives. So come ready to do that too. So let's just talk briefly then about Community 2.0 and what we're doing. And I really need you to look at the left-hand side of the screen. We need your help. We can't do this on our own. We're a startup organization, and we're looking for funding to hire some staff. So if you're interested in that, let me know about that. But we need your help to shape these projects, and we need your help to run the projects, and we need you to bring your friends back next month and keep growing the number of people to be sustainable and to be environmentalists, however they define that. So the 4 choices that we have, well, let me go back up to the top of this screen. First, at the end of today, we hope that you'll take some action and post it in the chat and tell us what you're willing to do. Amir will talk more next month about 3 personal action choices, but obviously we need to impact water and land use and energy. And the 4 choices specifically that Community 2.0 is active on are these eco town hall meetings. Tell us if you like the format, recommend a speaker, recommend a topic that we can pursue. I've already circled 2 topics that we can talk more about. I think it was Cheryl that was talking about the circular economy and how individuals and businesses need to. A circular economy is designing products from cradle to grave so that they can be designed to be recyclable at the end and not leave it to chance that they're going to be recycled, but instead for the manufacturer to take that article back and recycle it themselves. And the role that consumers can play is to get out of that consumerism mentality of just throwing things away and instead finding ways to reuse things and only buying things that can be recycled and that people are committed to recycling. Somebody else talked about regenerative agriculture. And that's absolutely, we need to do that as well. We need to start growing our own food, and we need to do it in a regenerative way. So Eco Town Halls is the first way that we're going to awaken people and alert them to what's going on with regard to the environment. We're going to run quarterly meetings that we're calling Plant Covered City. Sean Mastretti is an environmentalist and landscape guy with us, and Lee Adams is one of his partners. She works at the Arboretum. And they teach hugelkultur, and they teach different ways that you can reduce, actually physically reduce the temperature in your community by planting hundreds of trees. As you probably know, if you've ever had to install an air conditioner unit in your home, they always tell you put that air conditioner outside in the shade, because in the shade it's 15 degrees cooler than in the sun. By providing planting trees, we can actually cool the physical area in the community. In addition, we want to work with Edison and the gas company and whoever has large physical machines that can rip out asphalt and rip out concrete, because as you may know, that concrete and asphalt soak up heat all day long in the sun. And then in the evening, when the sun goes down and the earth should be cooling, instead the cement and asphalt are releasing heat and keeping the communities warmer. So on a quarterly basis, we'll start planting projects. Hopefully we'll evolve to do those monthly. In the past, I've run large-scale volunteer projects with up to 4,000 volunteers on one day. We're going to do that, and we're going to blow past that number. So my goal is first in November to do a 1,000-person project, and then after that, 2, and then 5, and then 10,000, and then linking with programs similar to ours across the U.S. Maybe mobilize 100,000 volunteers on a day to take eco actions. So it's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun. It's going to be impressive. You're going to get goosebumps by seeing so many people doing these kinds of great activities that we need to do. That one on August 20th is our first session. We're going to be educating people on what kind of plants to plant, what kind of trees, and what this is going to, the event's going to look like, how we need to manage them, and the kinds of partners that we need to secure to do this on a massive scale. Who has their hand up?
I do.
Rita, what's your question?
I was wondering about the tree planting, and if you're familiar with Doug Calumet and how to plant natives and keystone natives.
So please post that and put that in the chat if you have a contact for us. Sean Mastretti is our subject matter expert right now, but we're also looking to work with organizations like Tree People and Northeast Trees and anybody else who is already involved in this and has the expertise to help us out. We heard recently a presentation by a city of Pasadena staffer that said that they're committed to planting about 450 trees in the next couple of years. So we absolutely will reach out to the city of Pasadena and all the neighboring cities and see if we can work with them. So did I answer your question, Rita?
Yes, it's just the concern that you plant trees that are actually native to that ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to do that. And so here again, I'm not the subject matter expert, but we are working with subject matter experts. If you have that expertise, please put that in the chat. Or if you know somebody that does, please put that in and we'll definitely contact them.
Will do. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, so the next one down here is the Green Economy Conference. This is our second year doing this, and our focus this year is going to be on cities sharing innovative climate solutions. It's on October 15th. I hope you'll reserve that date. That's a Saturday. Should be from about 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. We've already aligned partners, organizations like Innovate Pasadena, which was our partner last year. They have a week-long conference called Connect Week, and we're going to be anchoring that conference again this week. We are going to be inviting city associations that have been working for over a decade now, sharing best practices among cities. Those organizations are like a group called C40, which is 100 large cities around the world, including the city of Los Angeles, sharing best practices, sharing frameworks, sharing eco solutions and activities that they can do so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. An even larger association is called the Global Covenant of Mayors. Mayor Bloomberg, ex-mayor of New York, has convened and helps run this organization that's over 11,000 cities. And we'll be tapping representatives from both of those organizations to come and share best practices with us. Another organization called Global Green, one of their members was our keynote speaker last year. That was Eduardo Gutierrez, who has worked for the UN for 34 years and has convened 3 international eco summits So we'll ask them about the experience they have working in about 29 US cities and 27 countries outside of the US. So we're bringing a lot of folks that have a lot of expertise here to share best practices. We're inviting every city, all 88 cities in LA County to come in, and so hopefully we can raise the bar for them of what the expectation is, and then provide them with resources so that we can really ramp up what cities are doing to combat the climate emergency. We're also going to be talking about investment. I don't want to get too much into details here, but recently in November at the COP26 meeting, where all the nations get together and talk about what they've done on the climate emergency, as usual, nations didn't do what they promised to do. And instead, what I've learned is that cities are taking the most innovative eco practices, and that's why we're inviting cities down. But here's the real key, that the world has woken up to the climate emergency. You might have heard the phrase money talks. And when the largest managers of investments, these are the asset manager companies that manages and control the wealth of the wealthiest people in the world. 450 of these organizations have gotten together in a group called GFANZ, which stands for Global Financial Alliance for Net Zero. And listen to this number. They've committed $130 trillion, trillion with a T, to overcome and to achieve the Paris climate emergency targets. Recently, the UN said that in the next 3 decades, it's going to take between 100 and 150 trillion dollars to solve the climate emergency challenges. That money is not available in governments. Only the private sector has that kind of money available. And the asset managers have already said that they're committing 130 trillion. So now it's pretty clear to me that we just need to take that money from the asset managers and match it up to the innovative cities and turn them on to solutions to kind of connect the dots. So that's what we're going to be attempting to do at the Green Economy Conference. As well, we're going to talk about health and wellness, because if people haven't woken up in 4 decades of warnings from scientists, hopefully we'll ask them to please consider their children and their elderly parents and the world that we're leaving to them, in the hopes to convince people to get active. So all of that stuff is going on between now and October 15th. And then at the very bottom, Jolene talked about our master class, which we're calling the Global Sustainable Citizen. Our tagline there is, you don't transform a planet, you transform people, and then they transform the planet. So each of us, I think, needs to step up our game, transform the way we think about how we can be part of the solution. And that's what that workshop does. So if you have any questions, I'll take a couple of questions right now. Anybody about these projects and how you can plug in? Don't everybody raise your hand at once now.
I'm just typing all my thoughts into the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Hemingway.
Actually, and I didn't know who's that speaking.
Sophia, hi.
Okay. Well, go ahead and let's hear you, Sophia.
Oh, I was just saying that I'm typing up all my stuff in chat. I don't want to hog everyone else's time, but I was still going more on some of the life hacks to reduce waste and stuff like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody have any questions about the programs that we're running? Nope. Okay, let's move on. So really sorry about that. What I'd like you to do now is just take a minute, kind of do what Sophia is doing. Hopefully you learned something today that you didn't know before. I'm hoping that we've inspired you to become involved with us. You know, we're already talking with Salvatrice and partnering with PCC and their economic and workforce development. We had a great conversation today with Kim at Jericho Road, and introducing nonprofit organizations to exponential thinking and how they can up their game. We've already and will continue to work with Cheryl on reducing single-use plastics, and I offered to help make that one of the topics of focus at the Green Economy Conference. We've already talked to Sharon at Altadena Heritage about co-sponsoring the plant-covered city days. Just on and on and on. Jolene's already on our team. Rita, I'd love to have your help as a writer. Eloise and Melody are going to be working with us, as is Katrina, and Amir's already on our team. And then Andrew, we've been working with Andrew for 5 years already. So we need, and we're trying to model the way of collaboration. So I'd love to hear how you'd like to be involved with this. Just anybody, what benefit do you see in working with? How'd you like to be involved?
All this stuff honestly sounds really exciting. This is Sophia again, and I think Rita was about to speak. So,
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like some of this stuff looks really fun. I hope I can get to it. I can't drive, so transportation's a bit of an issue, but I'd love to help plant stuff. I've always loved doing that.
Great, let's do it. And for folks that can't drive, we're looking to start initiatives all around the world. So if you wanted to help and do something in your local neighborhood where you didn't have to drive, let's do it. Let's talk about that. Amir, as you heard, is already in the San Francisco area, and we're talking about starting another Community 2.0 chapter up there. My vision is to have chapters around the world and or to link up with other groups that are doing similar work, because we just can't afford not to work more effectively together. Our default when we take actions should be who else is doing something similar to this, and how can we work with them to leverage our results and resources. So thanks for offering. And if you want to put your phone number in the chat, but I'll be glad to follow up with you and talk more about that. Who else? How would you like to be involved with us? Anybody?
I just think I've found my home here. It's like everything I love. So
Who's that talking?
Rita.
Rita, okay. And Rita, did you say that you live close by?
I live in East Orange in Orange County. No,
Well, that's close enough.
close enough. It's not across the world.
No, but absolutely. I know some folks, I think they're architect in Orange County that I think is going to want to be involved in our Green Economy Conference. So, and I have some friends down there. So maybe we can hook everybody up. A friend of mine runs the Muckenthaler Museum down there. That's in Fullerton. But she's indicated that she wants to be involved too. So let's have a meeting in Orange County. Well, let's get everybody that we know that are down there together and see what we can do together in that area. Love to do that.
Yes, I have lots of people I can share this with.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's do that. Anybody else? How did you like to be involved with us? Or what did you think about the presentation? Nobody? Anything interesting in the chat there that you want to bring to our attention, Christian?
From what I see in the chat, it's just mainly a lot of I can read what Sophia said earlier. If Sophia, is that fine with you if I read what you said?
About what again?
You said something about being more sustainable, I guess, like your routine.
Yeah, I put all of that in chat because otherwise I would have taken up like the entire call.
That's great. So I'm looking through the chat now, and I love that Melody said that she only buys secondhand clothes. I'm looking to do that more often now. And I used to have to go to work in an office. My closet is full of office clothes. All I wear now is flip flops and t-shirts. So there's all kinds of stuff that I can donate to folks maybe that would have more of a need for that.
Actually, yeah, the Buy Nothing group on Facebook would be good for offloading your wardrobe.
Yes, mine is very stuffed.
What's it called, Cheryl? What was that called on Facebook?
It's called Buy Nothing. And so people just either give what they don't want or they ask for what they need.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of stuff from my store, like baskets and vases and jars and shelves, and I've gotten clothes. I've given stuff too, and I'm hoping to go through my whole entire house this summer and get rid of crap, like so many clothes, like you said, Greg, that just probably don't fit because of the extra COVID weight or the business office stuff.
Yeah. I don't think I have COVID weight, but I definitely have a wine belly, and I'm committed to do anything to get rid of it except quit drinking wine. So there's that. I like what Sharon posted in the chat too about buying more local food, growing your own food. using a bucket in the shower, no gas powered garden tools, all that stuff.
Yeah, I like the dryer, the no dryer thing too. We have a rack that we hang our clothes on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Final comments? I would love it if you just personally, or in the chat if you want to, but just list right now 3 people that you know that you can invite to our next meeting, which is going to be on August 3rd. That's the first Wednesday in August. As you can imagine, we have to mobilize about 1 billion people here, and I'm serious, literally 1 billion people around the world to adopt sustainable practices if we're going to beat this thing. So each of us needs to become an environmentalist on our own using sustainable practices, but we need to convince our friends and our family members and our kids and everybody, our boss, our employees if we own a company, to also adopt sustainable practices because our lives depend on it. And don't want to harp too much on that, but this is an existential crisis. We need to do this or irreversible damage to the planet and maybe worse. So please take a minute to write down. Rita wrote down Mary, Bo, and Susan. Very cool. These letters going out probably in about 2 weeks. So if you want to communicate with us before then, I think my contact information is all over that Evite, isn't it? And you can look up Community 2.0 or gapodaca.com. Let me put that in the chat. Or just give me a call. I'll put my phone number in here too. gapodaca.com. Anyway, so this is going to be very cool. Gosh, I've been in this business of mobilizing volunteers for probably like 35 years or something. So that gives you an idea how old I am. But I love it. I love it. And I love seeing the faces of people when they're among kindred spirits and what I like to call my tribe, right? People who are healthy, who are going for it in life, who are really rocking life, who are thriving, and who want to create a sustainable planet. That's the kind of people I want to hang out with. And I think that's the kind of people that you are today. So please, 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 please come back and bring some friends. Yeah. Sophia, can you put that in the general chat for us?
Done.
So my web address and my email. Let me put my email address on there too.
Greg, Rita has raised her hand. Rita, did you have a comment or question?
Yes, I wanted to know where we can find this recording.
I think we're going to post this on our website. So that is gapodaca.com. And Amir, you're going to post it somewhere else? You're going to post it on your website too?
We can also post it in the events, in the meetup and the Eventbrite, in those events, we can add the link.
Yeah, great. So we'll post this. And I think if we can get Eloise and maybe Christian to kind of break out some little snippets, then we can post them on social media as well. So I think what's left to say, thank you so much for coming today.